Hello everyone, my name is Bridget and today I'm going to be telling you an inspiring story of ancestral support and lineage healing, brought to you by my ancestors. I have honestly been waiting to tell you this story for like 6 months and just wanted to wait for this time around the thinning of the veil and Samhain and Halloween, and this time where we have this extra access to contact our ancestors. It just makes it that much easier to hear between the veil, to hear beyond the veil, and to be able to receive support and do healing with our ancestors. So I invite you to sit back, get cozy, grab a nice cup of joe, cup of tea, to really dive in and to feel the experience of what came through for me. I definitely encourage you to watch all the way to the end. There's lots of gems because this pertains to you, how you can receive this support in your own way. And if you want to listen to this on more of a long form platform, I recommend going over to my Wild and Awake podcast to listen to it while you're cooking dinner or walking in nature, whatever you want to do. So let's get into the story now. Okay, so I felt a call, a draw, as I often do, to the Celtic Isles this summer, and I went and led 2 amazing retreats, one in Glastonbury, England, and then the other in Ireland. And the area that always calls me in Ireland is this area in southwest Kerry, and then specifically this town where there's this incredible national park that is quintessential, like Irish magic, just like everything you would want it to be is like resides there. It's just absolutely wonderful. And so I wanted to co-create something with my dear friend Mara Elaine, and so we co-created a retreat there. Now, I knew that I didn't have any Irish ancestors from Southern Ireland. I've got about 15% Irish, but all that I knew came from the north. And this is where the teaching lesson already that pertains to you starts to come in. And I knew that these ancestors from Northern Ireland had already left to America by the early 1800s because I have really incredible genealogy. That's one of the benefits of having a Mormon lineage past, is that they're just incredible genealogists. And so I can go back in some of the lines 1,000 years. It's pretty remarkable. But I never thought I needed to go back any farther than, say, the 7 generations, because it wasn't relevant. And so this is one of the teaching tools, is that in most traditions, the Zulu tribe in Africa, the Toltecs, you name it, just like so many traditions that have kept the veneration of the ancestors alive, it's always about the 7 generations. It's always about healing the 7 generations, receiving from the 7 generations, the 7 generations that come ahead. And so that's been my framework for the past 15 years doing this work, was just always staying within those bounds. And this is the next part of why this starts to get interesting, is these bounds were broken on this trip. So I felt the call, I felt the pulse drawing me to this area in southwest Ireland, had to do a retreat for the second time, had to do it with Mara, who's magical, and gather these people in this special place. So as we were going around and I was driving with my friends in the car, I just kept on being slightly annoying and overly excited. Like, I love this place. This is my ideal location. This would be my ideal home. And I just kept talking about it because I just felt such a resonance to the place, to the land, to everything there. And so the first night when we were there, we get into the hotel, and Mara chose one by the lake, beautiful lake. And we start to, wind down for the night. It's about 9 p.m., still really bright out, around summer solstice. And my other friend made some comment that made me go look at my ancestry again. I'm not sure what she said, like, go look at your ancestry again. Are you sure you don't have connections here? Something like that. And so I went back on a line that I hadn't searched because I didn't care to go beyond 7 generations, which for me because my ancestors were bunnies and rapidly reproducing at young ages, it was about 150 years ago. And so I didn't go beyond that. And in this case, I was like, let's go a little bit farther back for the first time. So I start going back on the exact line, and lo and behold, in the 1500s, I run into an ancestor from Clarny, from this town that we're in during the retreat in Southwest Ireland. And I'm like, that's cool. That's awesome. Synchronistic. Not much more than that, because it's one ancestor. It's freaking 600 years ago, and there's hundreds of ancestors. So, there was something there, but not too much. And then I said, yeah, the name's McCarthy. And I said it out loud. And then Mara looked over and she said, the McCarthy Clan ruin castle is right outside of the hotel. I was like, what? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'm going to go take a look. So I go out, right, at dusk and go to this ruin, and I start to feel this energy start to swirl, start to brew. But surprisingly, I don't play into these things, especially anymore. I just stay neutral and let things unfold. But there's definitely energy moving and a lot of energy coming in. And so then I go back into the hotel room, and Mara comes out of the bathroom and she's like, what are you doing? And this lady is very keyed in. She's one of the most keyed in people, very intuitive, very psychic, all the things. She's incredible. And she says, you got the whole McCarthy clan in here. How are we supposed to sleep? And my other friends we're just laughing and kind of pissing around. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. Like, there's just this thing, this process happening where there's this recognition of the ancestors that live palpably still in the land, that are accessible through that time-space gate, that are recognizing me as their kin, as like a part of their clan. And I'm just like, this is so cool. And I'm feeling all this energy coming in through my kidneys where the ancestors communicate. And she goes, you're going to have to send them away. We got to go to sleep. She's like, I can feel them. They're interacting with my ancestors, and the clans have like something going on. And I'm like, okay. And so I try and quiet and hush it for the night. And that's the end of chapter 1. And so I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I felt some connection, like this is a clan castle, some stuff's going on. And I then do some more research to find out that my ancestor, direct ancestor, lived, maybe even built that castle and died in that castle. Like, full-on connection, right? And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty amazing. And feeling this like empowerment, feeling this connection. And then we, for the retreat, go to this really incredible site. It's called the Mcross Abbey. This is the tree, if you're watching on YouTube. In the Abbey, it's this ancient yew tree, which is actually the tree of Samhain, which is pretty interesting in the Druidic calendar. And that space of death and transition and that kind of energy. And this is before I knew about this connection to this ancestral stream. We're at the Abbey, and I'm just like, this place is off the charts. Like, it's just, and the tree, and I'm just like, this is so incredible. And lo and behold, I find out that my ancestors are buried at that Abbey, and that the lore around it is quite interesting as well, that connects in to this idea of what the ancients, and also just like what men and women used to be more keyed into. There's a lot of cultural weird stereotypes and norms nowadays, but in those days, one of the lores of how that abbey came to be built was that one of the McCarthys, not my direct ancestor, but close connected, received a vision in a dream, to build a abbey. And the abbey was to be located where it was the music on the rocks was the term like phrase, music on the rocks. So this guy and his other clansmen like are going out looking on the land for the perfect location, and they stumble upon this little girl on the rocks singing, and they knew instantly that that was the space. That was the space for the abbey. Now, there's a long-standing tradition in Ireland for the veneration and the worship, the honoring of ancient trees. Oh, so incredible. They hold so much energy because they are so honored, and they're let to live a long time. And so I don't know which one came first, the tree or the abbey. Oftentimes the tree came first, the abbey's built around it, and there's like this whole beautiful courtyard that encases this tree and has a very palpable spiritual field. And so I didn't know, but I was sitting at the foot of a tree that's over 600 years old, which means my direct ancestors sat at the base of this baby tree, and then 600 years in continuity, I am sitting there as their descendant. And sure, there are buildings that are long-standing, but there's something about the nature, continuation that holds that remembrance that is so special. So the key to this is that, yes, there's a lot of synchronicities. It's cool, amazing, that this whole region was caretaken by the McCarthys in that era, direct ancestors to these protectors of the land and original-ish peoples as well. And the key takeaway of why this is special, I mean, all the little magical connections are really beautiful, is that those ancestors found me. Those ancestors contacted me. I wasn't trying. I was following flow. I was following my intuition, going to places that are resonant to me. But it was them. They were seeking me through time, space to gather me up, to welcome me once again to their clan as their kin, to a place, to a family in which I belong. I mean, through like centuries, and it's all now, so it's different when you feel into it that way. But if you look in it in a linear way, it's like, wow, that's amazing. And this is possible for you too. And the point is there is support absolutely seeking you. Maybe even from hundreds, maybe even, thousands of years ago, to be there for you. Those ones that are resonant for you, those ones that can bestow treasures, blessings, gifts, support, empowerment, strength, receptivity, the connection of spiritual yesness and the fostering of land. They exist in your line too. They exist from the peoples that you come from as well. And that's the main point. It doesn't need to stay bound, say, to 7 generations. And it can be just like one obscure line somewhere that has such a ring that resonates with your own epigenetics, with your own morphogenetics, that reunion and that bond is woven together once again. And that's so important to know, because I think in this seeking and this searching for belonging that is moving in very distorted ways in the world, where it's like, to belong, you might need to cut off some parts. To belong, you might need to, chop someone's head off. It's like, really? Okay, can we belong in maybe a cleaner way that truly aligns with our hearts, that aligns with our essence, that aligns with goodness? And the answer is yes. And so it's very inspiring to me. I hope that you're feeling this. Obviously, you can feel I'm pretty passionate about it. But there's just something very strengthening and very powerful about this that roots us back in to ourselves, back into earth, back into the lineage, and grounds us in what is true. And so it's wonderful and it's powerful. And we all need that belonging. And to find where we truly belong is, it's honey, It's the juice of life. It's like something so precious, and it is a true gift. And that is like the true gift of the ancestors, is to retrieve and to experience these treasures of the belonging, of the connection, and of the gifts that are passed along. And as I tune into it, because this line comes from my dad's line, and as we're freaking frolicking through like Leprechaunville, and Mara, I apologize, but you know where I'm coming from with this, that it's just like magic world. I feel my brother in the land. I feel my nephew in the land. I feel my dad in the land. Like I feel the masculine of those streams in that place. For them to know, for me to know that there's a greater continuity of that stream of essence, that has humor, that has whimsical nature, that has like a deep listening to land and spirit, is like a part of the male line. And those are the gifts, those are the treasures. And in the Irish culture, this is known even today. And I love that the Irish have kept so much of their elemental wisdom and their magic wisdom that sometimes makes them on the, kind of global and European stage look more primitive, which is the opposite, actually, that it creates that remembrance and continuity that keeps us alive and vibrant and connected to what is true. There's a remembrance of that there's treasures, that there's gifts that are passed on in the lineage, and you get that gift. Like Mara was telling me about this butcher that's a butcher 5 days a week, and then he has the gift of setting bones. And so the other days of the week, he shares that with the community and resets people's bones in alignment, or it could be whatever healing gift is out there. So there's much to be retrieved. There's much to be received. There's a space to belong. And this is the benevolent. This is the positive. This is the goodness. And so I invite you in this time of the thinning veil to go into this and open to the ancestors that are your own genetic lineage, or, as you know, for me, maybe even beyond your own genetics, just like any ancestor that's like super excited to support you because you're aligned with goodness. Invite that in and see what's there, and open to the magic. And if you want assistance doing this, I have my Ancestral Healing and Connection course down below. It's very powerful. I've got 3 live calls this year. Every year I do live calls so that I can be there for you to support whoever's a part of it year after year, because this is so beautiful and so power to deepen and swing back around to and reapproach and swing back around to and finesse, so that over time there is this real retrieval of who you are and where you come from. So open to what that support can be to you in whatever way you imagine, whether that's sitting in a meditation, whether that's lighting a candle, or that's, like finding out more of where your family came from and family stories, paying attention to your dream time. There's lots of different easy ways to start tapping in and just opening to it, right? You feel the transmission, just opening to it. Because a lot of the ancestral conversation, fair enough, is about healing, because there's a lot of healing required as well. And so sometimes you have to jump back, generations, sometimes you have to back 600 years to find those that are synced with you and can support you and want to support you in your endeavors in the here and now, because there is no time limit or space limit to that realm and to those ancestors that were connected in that way, which is one of their gifts. So if there's healing that needs to be done in your family, definitely tend to it and absolutely receive support and guidance to be able to do that really practically on the everyday level, because it can be a lot. So definitely open to the receiving, to the support, to the contact with those that came before that are in resonance with you to support and bestow gifts, and open to healing. You know the things that are messy in the past, and the things that you don't know, maybe you should find out, because those secrets keep things bound, keep things stuck. And make sure that you receive some kind of support, some kind of guidance to navigate that, because those things can be really big energies. But the more that you do those pieces of service for your own line, holy smokes. Well, I mean, first of all, it is very helpful for yourself, but it is a very cascading ripple effect through your family and through the lines, which then end up webbing and intersecting with everyone and with all of humanity. So again, in these times of like, what can I do? You can heal your own line, because your own line somehow interacted with another line, and it starts to become this anchor point, this true peace pole within the earth, within the morphogenetics of humanity, that other people can then anchor to that healed energy of whatever that is. So as things have come up recently, my partner's been really obviously feeling this, and he was in this place of like, I don't know what to do. And then I walked over and he turned on a documentary about like the Irish history, because he's got a lot of Irish in him. And it was like, he knew that the place to start was to heal his own line, was to heal himself, was to heal those places in him, so that then that can be a healed template of, in this case, victimhood, so that victimhood doesn't have to have such a strong hold on the planet anymore, and it can start to be healed and integrated. And then we can play with the perpetrator side or this or that. And I will say, because I think it's important to say, that I have been doing this work for a very long time, and I've devoted myself a lot, and I've done a lot of service work. I spent all last winter deep in very dark stuff for my family and for these certain lines that needed assistance. And so there is a level of reciprocity as this gift came to me, because of what I've contributed. I feel that ebb and flow. And so that's important to know, is that the more that you give, the more that you are truly reciprocated on this path. There's some experiences in lives where you give certain people, certain things, doesn't come back. Don't interact and interface with those. You need to choose things that are going to be in reciprocity with you. And this is one of those things. So I want to close by just telling a couple more pieces to this, which are that I recently went back to Salt Lake City, and that's where I was doing a lot of the work last winter. And I went back, I didn't even know it existed, to my ancestor's grave, 7 generations back on my mom's side. And he founded one of the towns there. And there was a whole cemetery that was like dedicated to this family and all of his wives and all of the stuff. And this was after I had this Ireland experience that was very powerful, very palpable. Like every time I call upon like the McCarthy energy and the McCarthy line, it's like, boom, there's this like energy and potency there for me. And so I'm like, ooh, this is even more recent. This was 1850s. This isn't even 200 years ago. Like maybe this is going to be even more strong. And so you have to be really ready to be a part of my family. I make my brother and nephew and mom go with me to this cemetery, and they loved it. And we read the story of this ancestor who was a very powerful pioneer and led many across the Rockies and stuff, and did his thing. And there's a lot of shadow there as well. And so I wasn't super excited about this ancestor, nor how he worked in relation to the feminine and women. And so I went and honored him as my ancestor, of course, and like thanked him very much so for my life and that perseverance, holy crap, that made it possible to live like through such circumstances, and found a new place in all those pieces. And I said, I don't take on any of the other stuff that you decided to do, on the woman wife front. And that is not my place. And just know that 7 generations later, that has changed. And that just felt true and aligned. And I didn't feel much. It was like one of those moments of just crickets, which is slightly rare for me on the spiritual energy front. But there just wasn't much there. And that was because there wasn't the resonance. There wasn't the ring. We weren't even synced, And so there wasn't those parts, say, of my epigenetics, of my morphogenetics, that were ringing and aligned with that which he was. And that which that like line and that stream was continuing on. I'm like, I'm creating this other stream, and the McCarthys are backed up on that one, right? So I think being creative and going beyond the bounds of what you feel is possible, and frameworks are very important for this because you need those containers and structures to kind of navigate this, like I said, because there's a lot of different things happening. But go beyond the bounds of what you think is possible and who you think you're connected to, so that you can truly find your tribe and you can truly find where you belong. And I think that that's very empowering as well. And as I like to remind anyone on this path, new, or those that have been walking it before, is that even those that aren't in your genetic lineage are very welcoming to support those that are aligned with higher aim at these times. I think that that's changed in these times, and that's part of the awakening, is this real recognition, even from the spirit world, even from the ancestral world, that we're all one peoples. This is not all ancestors, not all cultures, but a lot of them are very warmly and overwhelmingly supportive of those that are aligned with life and the continuity of life as a true intention and a true walking virtue of how you are in the world. So it's good. So it's very good. And this is the Mcross Abbey tree, yew tree, if you didn't see that already, for those of you watching on YouTube. So I want to thank my ancestors for coming in and opening my imagination and opening my perception of how vast belonging can be snuggled and how you can be received and the treasures that await us. And I feel like that is part of the, if I could say, the stream that I'm receiving and this thinning of the veil, that it is all about the receiving of support so that we have enough capacity to even approach the healing. That it's really about the support and the receiving of the treasures, this gateway, so that you can know that you're taken care of, receive support, and belong. And I, of course, thank you very much for tuning into this, for tuning into yourself, tuning into what is resonant to you, who you want to be, and how you can connect and how you can remember and anchor to who you truly are in this life and with the family, the culture, the origin that you decided to incarnate into. It's a big deal, that choice. So opening to all that is. And I am always a fan of connecting in with the motherland, wherever that may be. I know that there's a lot around motherland right now, so however you can honor your own motherland is nourishing, and you can always connect into that place wherever you are. And if you have the opportunity to go to that place, even better. So just connecting in a peaceful manner is also a very empowering way to connect So thank you so much for watching. If you do want more support and frameworks and container and how to navigate this, be sure to go check out my Ancestral Healing and Connection course and join the live calls. I'm here for you. It's a big deal, and so I continue to show up at service to you so that you can have all the support that you need on this journey as well. And if you like this video, be sure to like it, hit that subscribe button and the bell button so you get notifications every time I do new videos. Wishing you all the best and a happy thinning of the veil and reconnection time with the ancestors in this Samhain portal. Many blessings.